Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our closing session, Money, Technology, Purpose, moderated by Piotr Korynski, International Economic and Finance Sector Development Specialist, with the participation of Christos Kotsakas, journalist and senior editor of epixeiro.gr, Barbara Scheck, Managing Director of the European Centre for Social Finance, Sofia Karadima, Senior Editor and Researcher by Investment Monitor, Alexandros Kaliontzoglou, Information Security and Risk Management Expert, Regulatory Sandbox Project Coordinator by the Bank of Greece, Eva Kaili, Member of the European Parliament, Francisco de Paula Coelho, Dean of EIB Institute.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the closing session. We have heard a number of presentations, wonderful examples of alternative finance, big variety. Now we would like to put it together and see what kind of sense we can make, what we have heard today, what we are learning, what we are observing, what's new and interesting. And I have asked two colleagues of ours to present. They've been actually watching and consistently actually taking notes and observing those two sessions. I would like to ask Christos first to talk about what his observations about the sessions related to financial innovation, and then Barbara to talk about social finance. And finally, we'll hear from Sofia her reflections, but her reflections will be slightly different, will not be related to necessarily one or two sessions, but have a broader kind of reflection on diversity and variety of what's going on in that emerging alternative finance business. So, Christos.
Yes, Piotr, thank you. There's a banner right in front of me that says Money, Technology, Purpose. So with my rusty English, I want to bring your attention to this iconic Apple ad we saw about 20 years ago. This ad was saying, amongst other things, that the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Because of the fact that life, the economy, and many other activities revolve around financial services, in short, money, I think that what we are talking about when it comes to financial innovation is a shift in the way people function. And I think that here today we see a plethora of ideas, products, and services that are crazy enough, in a good sense, to change the world. So how can people interact with money and tech? And how does this inform the design of financial solutions? Here are very briefly some examples of what we saw today. We saw SIA using blockchain to develop SIA Chain, a private infrastructure created to develop in a secure and protected manner innovative blockchain applications based on DLT. We were introduced to PaySpot, who successfully cooperates with a large number of commercial banks and insurance companies, and who became the first company in Serbia to provide payment of invoices, fees and taxes outside of Serbia's traditional payment system. We met Taekwondo, who developed state-of-the-art algorithms and tools for finance applications, like investing, trading ideas generation, and combining predictive machine learning algorithms with successful trading practices. We took a look at Meniga, who helps banks transition from transactional institutions to trusted financial advisors. For example, Carbon Insight is a white label solution for banks that estimates the carbon footprint based on the spending pattern and provides unique insights into the carbon profile. We looked into Wally, a money management platform designed for families, which helps children grow good money skills in a fun and secure way. Their solution consists of a smart money app and a MasterCard for kids 10 to 18, co-managed by their parents. We also learned about Fiorin, who enables users to instantly create multi-currency dedicated IBANs, send payments and payroll in bulk, accept online payments, apply for corporate cards, and get invoices paid early, all from one place. Their vision is to build the rails for better business banking in the form of an ecosystem. The International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications showed us how digital identity impacts access to finance ecosystem. Tembeo Biotechnologies, a Belgian deep tech startup, introduced us to the Universal Authentication Protocol, based on core biotechnology expertise, anchored on distributed ledger frameworks they are developing. And we were educated on blockchain-based sandboxes by the Bank of Lithuania, and we saw Kulana, a comprehensive, fully configurable, easy-to-use credit management platform, providing the entry to the future of knowledge-based lending. Ferlo, on the other hand, is creating automated easy-to-use services based on transparency and fairness. Last but not least, GX Blocks Energy aims to bring in the fintech field a new hybrid class of sustainable energy blockchain products. What do all these examples have to show? That financial innovation has infiltrated in every way people interact with their money, their payments, their investments, as well as technology. And if we try to figure out how this informs the design of financial solutions, it is clear that this specific implementation should offer characteristics and functionality that, up until a few years ago, would have seemed needless, impossible to develop, too complex, or too costly. In other words, maybe crazy. Nowadays, ranging from startups comprised of just a handful of people with a great idea, up to colossal financial institutions that some may consider too traditional to adopt such models, not only is everyone on the spectrum embracing innovation, but they also prove that it is not part of some far-fetched future scenario, but the present. All these companies try and thankfully succeed in offering a product based on market gaps and on real user needs. Needs that the user may not be sure that he really has before experimenting with a new product and discovering its value. Even if its manifestation is hidden inside our pocket, in an Android or an iPhone. And as the ad we mentioned in the beginning said, here's to the crazy ones, because they change things, they push the human race forward. They offer purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very nice summary, and which kind of Christos just showed the variety of things that we assembled here, but also it's reflective of the whole sector and this what's called alternative. I will make a comment about alternative, but I would like to ask Barbara to give her reflections on what she heard in the social capital section, track.
Sure. So I had the pleasure to sit in on 4 very interesting different sessions on impact investing, financing of social enterprises, new microfinance, and collaborative finance. And although they were very distinct, there were common themes that have emerged, and I would try to cluster them around the different stakeholders that are involved in the financing process, the social enterprise or the investee, the recipients of finance, the investor, and public administration. And regarding the social enterprises, or those that need funding and receive funding, technological solutions are on the forefront to solving social problems. So we saw a very interesting example from Greece, where an app is used to donate money to homeless people that they then also can cash in. It's very easy to use. It's very transparent. And it can help many people on a different, larger scale to change their lives. So on the social enterprise level, technology as a means to solve problems and to achieve impact. Other areas that we heard of were the care for the elderly, education. So technology is easily scalable, and that can help solve social issues on a very much larger scale than before. On the level of the financial intermediaries, so for example, on the impact investing fund level, technology can help very much with the economical model of the funds. So transaction costs in the field are very, very high. Transaction costs are small. The funds are usually smaller. So the transaction costs are very high, and technology can be used to not only build the pipeline, but help funding smaller tickets by digitalizing some of the processes, by helping with impact assessment, etc. So it can help these impact investing funds to achieve their full potential and streamlining their operations, make them develop a sustainable, financially viable business model. For the microfinance funds, technology is currently used to strengthen the operations. So funds think about strengthening or widening, increasing their IT infrastructure. The scalability of these technological solutions leaves then room for personal approach. For example, risk screening with AI, which is then followed upon with a personal meeting. Some of the services are being offered digitally. There was this quote that COVID forced the people online. So many processes had to be digitalized. Many of the documents have been transferred to the digital world. And there was an interesting outlook for blockchain in microfinance and the use of AI. So the digitalization of the operations of these investors was on the forefront for these stakeholders. For the retail investors, we had insights into very interesting new crowdfunding solutions that might appeal to a younger generation to invest digitally, and that helps democratizing impact and return. That was very interesting. So the access to these impact investing tools by new means of technology was mentioned, especially in the case of crowdfunding. The last stakeholder I'd like to mention are public administrative bodies as partners in crime. So throughout the sessions, it was stressed that government engagement is critical on every level. So municipalities, the regional level, up to the European level, and in every session, also the necessity of EIF instruments was mentioned as being critical for many institutions in the field, for example, the guarantees. So government entities being facilitators, co-investors, match funders, etc. So the crucial engagement of these public bodies was mentioned. However, there are certain limits to this technological development. For example, there was the need for local adaptation was stressed. So there's no one-size-fits-all European solution, but in every European region, country, often there are different aspects that need to be taken into account. Some clients are not ready to use technology. So not in order to leave some unbanked or outside of these developments, providers and investors, intermediaries need to make sure that everyone is included, that everybody can use, has access to the technology and knows how to use it. Data protection, data security was mentioned as a challenge, and of course the cost of this transition to a digital alternative finance environment. So there was a lot of potential, a lot of new developments, and a lot of potential collaboration in the future with banks, for example, buying crowdfunding platforms. So new ways of interaction between the different actors in the field, which was very promising.
Thank you, Barbara. And just as a reminder, as Barbara said, technology is very helpful, very useful, but it's not going to solve all problems. Okay, so that's one. At least not now. Maybe in the future we will live in a world that technology is it, but it's not yet. Now I would like to ask Sofia, who is actually representing Investment Monitor, one of our digital, our communication sponsor, and she offered, she volunteered actually to speak about the alternative finance from a slightly different perspective. So I'm very eager to hear about the other aspects, the diversity aspects of which she has been actually researching for Investment Monitor.
Sounds good. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Sofia Karadima. I'm a senior editor and researcher at Investment Monitor, which is a digital publication focusing on cross-border investments. I'm delighted to be here today. Alternative Finance Forum has been a great event, and it has been really interesting to hear more about financial innovation and social capital. So without further ado, let's jump to my reflection as a reporter. My topic is, how do technology and purpose change the financial services industry? Well, I think it's important to divide it in three parts. What happened BC, before COVID? What is the current situation? And what about the future? So what happened so far? The rise of technology has been a game changer for all industries, but the disruption has been key for financial services. This comes as there are several ways in which technology has transformed the financial services industry. To start with, technology has impacted on transactions. It has changed how we manage and we move money. Technology has also driven competition among financial services providers to launch newer and more technologically advanced products and services. What's more, the accelerating technology adoption has enabled new market entrants with disruptive business models to reshape the competitive map. But that was before COVID. What's the current situation now? The thing is that there has been an even greater reliance on technology and information communication technology tools since the outbreak of the pandemic. This has led to the digital transformation of financial services, which has offered customers the opportunity to gain access to more services and products at the click of a button. This digitalization has encouraged financial inclusion across the globe. Some of the measures taken to combat the virus have also encouraged the use of online banking and mobile payments among smaller, more remote companies and people of all ages across the world. However, it has also created challenges. The acceleration to digital has heavily impacted on inclusive growth because people who weren't part of the digital economy are being left further behind. This is crucial when it comes to the developing countries, as a high number of people, and especially women, have restricted access to telephones and the internet, which can limit their opportunities to make money. So making sure that the right infrastructure to assist all people, and especially female interpreters, is key for promoting financial inclusion in developing areas. The World Bank estimates that there are 1.7 billion unbanked people across the world who are potential customers for retail banking, and more than 200 million micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, where the potential revenue in tapping this unbanked retail and SME market is estimated to be 200 billion. This presents a key opportunity for financial services and for alternative finance players, not only to increase their client base by offering products and services to people that lack access to financial services, but also to promote financial inclusion and to deliver societal impact. Focusing more on purpose is key in order to build back better. It is essential that financial services providers realize that purpose and profits are not in conflict, and that by embracing responsible investing and ESG criteria, they can have better performance and enjoy larger profits in the long term. So what about the future? Looking ahead, purpose should play a key role in changing financial services in the post-pandemic world, not only in terms of the products and the services offered, but also in terms of hiring and maintaining a diverse array of employees and fostering an inclusive culture. The financial service industry needs to embrace more diversity and inclusion policies, promote gender diversity at the boardroom level, and form the right work environment for people of all backgrounds to rise up the corporate ladder. 2 days ago, the Financial Times reported that almost 3/4 of Black women working in big tech, finance and professional services in the UK believe that they are being paid less than the comparable peers, according to a survey by the London School of Economics and Political Science. On top of that, financial services also score very low in terms of socioeconomic diversity. Research by Bridge Group reveals that almost 9 out of 10 roles in financial services in the UK are held by people from higher socioeconomic backgrounds, as defined by their parental occupation. Overlooking diversity should no longer be an option for the financial services industry. The industry should back initiatives that encourage gender, race, and socioeconomic diversity, push for more representation of all backgrounds in the workplace, implement more inclusive recruitment policies, and foster an inclusive culture. By having more diverse teams, the financial services can enjoy higher profitability, unearth previously untapped opportunities, and build back better. In short, technology and purpose can have a great impact on financial services, as they can play a crucial role in addressing inequalities, increase participation of people of all backgrounds in the industry, reduce the gender gap, promote the achievement of UN Sustainable Development Goals, and focus on advancing sustainable development growth and financial inclusion across the world. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Sofia. Thank you for this reminder that that we just don't run away with technology, but we also have to claim that we are socially oriented and we think social good and social capital, but I also have to remember other aspects of being responsible and inclusive, which includes gender, and parity in employment, in engagement, in access to entrepreneurial opportunities in that sector. So thank you for the reminder. It's very important dimension to keep in mind. Now, so thank you. I want to thank all the rapporteurs and commenters. You stay here, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I would like to ask Alexandros Kaliontzoglou. I cannot say this. You, please come to the podium because that's the only place where you have.
So my name is Okay, great. My name is Alexandros Kaliontzoglou. I'm working for the Bank of Greece. And I would like to thank very much the organizers of the conference for this very interesting conference, and as well as for giving us the opportunity to say a few words about how the central bank in the country has been approaching innovation in the financial sector, and with a goal to facilitate it, but also to try to evolve and increase its capacity as a regulator and as a supervisor within its mandate.
So you have to use this. There's a thing
It's okay, I can press the button here. Yeah. Okay, as I understand, this is the, we're trying to finish the conference. I will not try to not tire you too much. I will give a brief introduction on what we have been implementing in the central bank with respect to innovation for the past 2.5 years, and give you an overview of the two innovation facilitators that we have established at this time. So the FinTech Innovation Hub and the Regulatory Sandbox. So this journey started early in 2019 when, under the initiative of our governor, Mr. Stournaras, we launched the Bank of Greece FinTech Hub. And then, shortly afterwards, we also joined the European Forum for Innovation Facilitators, which acts as a European Commission initiative to bring together supervisory authorities across the EU to be able to exchange experiences and best practices on how to handle innovations that have been emerging at national level. So in the end of 2019, we were approached by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development with the idea to request funding from the EU and also build a regulatory sandbox at the bank, similarly to our initiatives that have been appearing in the past years at global level. So we went through with the request, which was successful, and last year in September, the project for the implementation of the sandbox was initiated. And the sandbox, after 7 months in June, was launched, accompanied by a Bank of Greece Executive Committee Act, which effectively is the legal framework supporting its operation currently. Now, as you will see later on in the presentation, this is a vanilla version of the sandbox, which has certain restrictions in the scope of the entities that can participate for tests. But next year, into 2022, we also planned, after assessing the first year of operation, to see how we can enhance the operation and possibly broaden the scope by trying with the government to do some legal reform where is needed. A few words about the first innovation facilitator, the FinTech Innovation Hub. Effectively, the hub acts as a communication channel between the Bank of Greece and interested parties in order to provide information, clarification, and guidance on the regulatory and supervisory framework within BOC's competence, so in the sectors of banking, payments, and private insurance. By interested parties, here we mean we have the scope is quite broad in the sense that anybody, an entrepreneur, a startup, or even an incumbent can submit queries in order to clarify questions that they have and to navigate the regulatory landscape related to supervised services. But for us, the hub serves also a purpose to help us enhance our supervisory capacity to better understand the innovation that is happening in the market. And since the launch of the sandbox, also to be able to identify cases which may also benefit from entering the sandbox and performing a test. In this slide, I have also included a couple of key figures from the second report that we published this year in May from the Innovation Hub queries, showcasing the business sector categories for the queries that we have received, as well as technologies that were referenced in these queries. Now, going into the sandbox itself, what is a regulatory sandbox? Effectively, it is a mechanism that allows financial institutions the possibility to perform a small-scale test, a live test with actual customers of innovative financial services and products that are based on financial technology under a specific testing plan, which has been approved and has been monitored by the Bank of Greece. So the key three objectives that we pursue with establishment of the sandbox are first to facilitate innovation, but while preserving financial stability. That means that we want to try and help entities that wish to offer such services in the market, but at the same time trying to mitigate any relevant and identified risks that could, new risks or different different versions of existing risks that are related to the actual application of different technologies. The second objective is to enhance legal certainty in the sense that we want to delineate the boundaries of the regulatory framework where these new services could fit in, as well as find points of friction and understand whether changes need to be made to the regulatory framework itself. And as a complementary objective to the other two, we definitely want to enhance our knowledge and in a two-way fashion, whereby we will be able to gain insight from the market and understand the actual nature of the innovations, but the market as well, participants in the sandbox will be able to gain a better understanding of the regulatory frameworks and the risks that they would have to mitigate in order to be able to offer a regulated service. It should be made clear that the sandbox is a supervised regime where laws and rules still apply. Greece has been the 9th country that has established a regulatory sandbox in the EU. So, coming back to the topic of the scope, who can apply for the regulatory sandbox at this stage? Currently, the sandbox is open only to supervised entities which desire to apply innovative and technologically advanced solutions for the provision of financial services and which fall under the remit of the Bank of Greece. So for non-authorized firms, including technology firms, there are two possibilities to enter in the sandbox. Either they would have to gain an authorization themselves if they intend to provide at some point regulated services, or they could partner with a supervised firm and enter the sandbox together. Applications that we will receive in the sandbox will be assessed against a set of 5 main criteria. The first one is related to what I explained in the previous slide about the sandbox scope. The second and very important one is that the service or product needs to be innovative. This is when we're talking about innovation here, it doesn't have to be restricted only to technological aspects of the innovation, like, for example, integrating artificial intelligence or machine learning or distributed ledger technologies, but also we're talking about elements also of social or organizational innovation of the likes we saw today in this conference. The third criterion is that it would have to bring benefits to the financial service users as well as the financial market, the financial system. The product or service would have to be ready for testing, so it would have to be in a mature enough state to be able to be provided to actual customers. And the provider of the service should have the intent to serve the market in Greece. Having said that, I will try to give you a very brief overview of the life cycle of the journey of a participant in the sandbox, as we have currently, which is currently foreseen in the Executive Committee Act. So the first step is the application phase. The sandbox entails 4 distinct phases. In the application phase, the participant would have to get familiar with the scope and the criteria that I have just mentioned, and then fill in the form, which is available at the bank electronically at the Bank of Greece site. Once we receive the form, we have set up a multidisciplinary team of people in the bank who are supporting the sandbox operation, the operations team, which will assess the application against the criteria you have already seen, and inform the participant whether they are accepted in the sandbox or not. So accepted applications go into the preparation phase, which is a very crucial phase for the overall procedure, because here, in collaboration with the Bank of Greece, the participant will have to define the testing parameters. The key document in this phase is the so-called testing plan, which covers a wide range of issues that would have to be predetermined, and this has to do with the perimeter of the test, the involvement of the users, and the transition and exit plan after the test, the risk management framework that will be applicable in the test, as well as the risk mitigation measures that will have to be implemented, risk monitoring indicators for the monitoring, and key performance indicators that will also be monitored in order to be able, in the end, to assess the test against its objectives. Once the testing plan is finalized, in collaboration with the bank, we can go into the actual testing phase. So here, participants will offer the services for up to 6 months, with a possibility for extending this to another 6 months, and in a live environment with actual customers. And during this time, the Bank of Greece, apart from exercising its supervisory competencies, it will give customized guidance to the participant to facilitate navigation of the applicable regulatory and supervisory requirements, and to provide any needed clarifications. At the same time, based on the parameters that have been defined in the previous phase in the testing plan, monitoring would take place through regular reporting. Once the test is finished, we go into the evaluation and exit phase. Here, participants will have to submit their final report, where they will record their own conclusions and their own assessment of the performance of the test against its objectives. And on our side, we will take into account this final report, and also taking into account the recording of our own observations, we will inform the participant on whether the test has been successful or not. Based on this information and the results of the test, the participant could scale up their proposition or terminate it. So that's all I would have to say. I would also like to mention that the regulatory sandbox has a dedicated microsite under the main Bank of Greece site. You can find the link in the slide, and you can also submit there any questions or and you can also find further information and more details on this initiative. Thank you.
Before you go, this life cycle looks quite complicated and elaborate. How long do you think it would take to incubate or kind of lead to the final? And what happens when the firm is successful? What happens after the sandbox?
So once the test is successful, and since we're talking about supervised entities, it would if the test is successful and we have a mature enough product, my understanding would be that scaling up would be quite fast after that.
Mm-hmm. So after this testing, the life cycle of the sandbox, the entities can go out.
The participants would have gained, the added value would be that they would have gained insight on any friction with a regulatory sandbox, with a regulatory framework that their service might entail, and therefore they can have a hands-on approach to fixing problems that may occur.
And it comes with some kind of approval of the central bank? The bank gives a blessing, gives a regulation, or some circular or something like this, kind of embraces new ways of doing financial services?
No.
No.
The answer is no to this question.
We would like to change the central bank a little bit.
No. This effectively the sandbox is used as another tool for the supervisor to be able to understand the service as part of normal supervisory practices. This is also quite important if you think that, for example, for banks that would wish to enter the sandbox, this would would also be as a monitoring tool for significant institutions within the SSM framework. So the Sandbox is a national tool, let's say, to gain more information and also to make the participant be more ready, in a sense, to offer a full-scale product. But it does not entail a form of certification, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, so it's a part of the regular supervision.
Exactly. It's part of the regular supervision.
Okay. And there is any you mentioned that institutions or the participants have to be within the framework of supervision, current supervision. Is
yes.
there any we've heard from the Bank of Lithuania, they actually experimented even beyond.
Yes, that's true. That's true. The Bank of Lithuania and I would say are pioneers in this field. And also the fact, as I heard today, that they are offering, that they have even gone a step further and have implemented a digital version of a sandbox for blockchain. This is something also quite similar with what the FCA in UK have implemented. But this is not, let's say, what we have currently in Greece. This could be as a future version of that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions to Alexandros? We are very glad, first of all, to hear the Bank of Greece actually embracing innovation in a very interesting way. That's, you're country number 9 in Europe, so you're in the lead. So we're very, very pleased, and so congratulations on doing this, and we look forward to hearing what happens in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I have one question. Is there a possibility this exercise to be interactive, meaning that it takes two to tango, if there is a need for update of a regulation that can facilitate the entry of innovation into the market? Is the Bank of Greece ready to update its own regulation?
This is a very good question. One of the reasons that we have established this innovation facilitator mechanism is exactly what you are referring to. And in a sense, we have also, I think we have already entered this track. With recent updates of regulatory framework, what comes to mind is the one on digital onboarding. So in Greece, from the bank side, although they were ready to, especially in the COVID case, although they were ready to allow, for example, remote onboarding, the framework wasn't really there to fully support such an operation. So last year we published an executive committee act which facilitates this. We consider both these tools, and especially the Sandbox, as one of the key, let's say, indicators for us to see whether the framework needs to change or to a new framework to be added. So the answer is yes.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, thank you very much. It's been
thank you very much as well.
Excellent, very interesting. We commend this. Thank you. Agni, do we have a word from Ms. Kaili, whether she's able to join us? No? 15 minutes. In 15 minutes. So with this, I have to ask Francisco to come over. We have to change the sequence. Francisco promised to tell us something at the end of his reflections and his observations at the end of the day. So Francisco, the floor is yours again.
Can I sit or stand?
I suggest, well, there's not many places to sit. You have to stand.
Well, it's a somewhat cruel duty to deliver closing remarks after so many brilliant speakers and pertinent speeches.
Well, you can take us forward.
Yesterday, we were questioning how alternative this forum would be, and now I realize from my own recent experience, after 2 years having been attending online forums, wearing a pajama pants and a necktie, that today, for the first time in 2 years, it's the other way around, I'm attending a real forum wearing no necktie and no pajama pants. So definitely it is an alternative event. Now, apart from the dress code, now people we meet here today are also in line with your own words, Piotr, alternative finance people. Besides that they do not wear a tie, alternative finance people, homo economicus alternativus, are purpose-driven. It means, and we notice this, that purpose-driven people, they hear from the impact investors that before making an investment decision, one of the key things they try to find out is about the intention of the founders. And this human aspect is something that cannot be replaced by AI, which is something reassuring to me. Then another observation which I registered with pleasure is the willingness to learn from failures. We Europeans sometimes do not like to admit when we failed. It is not that much in our culture as it is in the US. However, the Homo economicus alternativus europaeus is willing to recalibrate and restart, admitting his or her imperfections, to be humble, and that, my friends, is a virtue. We have heard several times over how recalibrated and improved your businesses. And alternative finance people are inspiring. We heard several success stories today too. And we at the EIB Institute, we support projects that tackle ethical, societal, and environmental problems, like Giving Streets does, by solving a problem caused by digitalization, through digitalization. By the way, I invite you to check out our Social Innovation Tournament, a manual competition that rewards the best social entrepreneurs from all over Europe, and do not hesitate to send suitable applicants to us. This morning, we were reminded that digitalization and the generalization of blockchain-based solutions can generate sustainable benefits. It generates advantage in terms of security, integrity, confidentiality, user-friendliness, and user comfort. Eventually, they also result in multi-trillion benefits for the economy in general and for the financial sector in particular. But, as many of you pointed out today, much more collaboration between the actors involved is needed, and an appropriate regulatory framework is indispensable. Fintech startups and blockchain technology are challenging. They challenge traditional financial service providers and social finance players by creating powerful, new user-centric products and delivery channels. This creates, of course, huge opportunities, but will Europe be able to fully exploit these advantages? Right now, EU only accounts for 7% of the annual equity investment in both technologies, while the US and China combined account for 80%. And this, however, the fact that Europe excels in research and has the largest pool of digital talents. A recent report by the EIB and the European Commission recommends that Europe steps up its effort to address the 10 billion investment gap that is holding back development and deployment of artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies. This for the EU only. We at the EIB Group, we will strive to contribute to this effort. So in conclusion, allow me to borrow the observation by my colleague Uli Grabenwater this morning that there has never been a better time to put new ideas on the table to trigger change. I believe that forums like today are the catalysts for finance to meet impact. And I subscribe to Uli's views and desire that in a not too distant future, we shall be able to rebrand from now alternative into traditional or normal finance forum. So allow me to thank particularly the organizers, Piotr, Neoklis, Annie, and your colleagues, for creating this event, to enable like-minded people to meet, having started to build the alternative finance community 4 years ago. I am convinced that the work by this community will end up removing the dots existing between money, technology, and purpose. Thank you all.
Thank you, Francisco, for your kind words. And Agni, do we have an update? Do we have we've been promised actually a short address by Ms. Eva Kaili, who is the member of European Parliament, to talk about, who is actually is very knowledgeable of blockchain and all these innovative. So we're waiting whether we can connect. I just want to make, while we're waiting and actually in closing, it depends on the situation. I have one comment to make, because I heard them many times during the day, and started from Uli, that he says, and Francisco just mentioned this, okay, it's alternative, but we want to be mainstream. Well, that's one way to think about alternative. I also think about alternative in a different way, that alternative for me, the alternative does not necessarily disappear. Alternative is always something new, something emerging, something that we strive to do better in a different way. So that's my kind of definition, okay, of alternative finance. That's something that is actually, we always kind of, we operate on the edges and of the innovation and creativity, and we're looking for new ways. So I think I would like to keep in mind that, okay, on some level, obviously, some things become mainstream because they become common practice, and they become rolled into regulation and general practice and best practice. But also, there's always something alternative regardless. There's always, because the creativity never stops, and we're developing new things. So there, I would like just to, that's my own reflection on two ways how we can actually think about alternative and alternative finance in general. So that's, what do we do? Now, please.
Give us 1 minute.
Okay. All right. Any other reflections from the audience? How did you, anybody that would like to share with us your reflections from the day? Was it boring? Was it interesting? Was it different? Was it something that we, stimulated some discussion, new things? Did you learn something new, for example? Did you find something of interest that you can apply and borrow, anything? Well, any comments from our dear panel here? No? I think you, Barbara?
Well, it's something we didn't touch upon today.
Okay.
What I would like to maybe discuss in the future. Oh, sorry.
Mike.
Sorry. So there's money, technology, and purpose, and we talked a lot about the money and the technology part, but not so much about the money and the purpose part. Mm-hmm. And there's so much movement in the market right now, so many actors, so many investors. So does money serve the purpose? How much return is too much return? Where is the threshold? Should there be a threshold? How much is it worth for us to invest in certain problems or not? So that would be a discussion that I think would be very interesting. There's probably not that one answer, but to having a clear understanding of what is kind of the risk, what is the return expectation, which actor is investing with what kind of investment strategy, for which purpose, and which investor, etc. So this is something we didn't touch upon today. It was always kind of lingering in the back, but never at the forefront. So money and purpose and how they go together, that would be something I would be very much.
Maybe money is the purpose.
Okay, thank you very much. That's an interesting point of view, and something that we would be happy to consider, and it obviously is if our discussion. So, yes, Oliver. They just speak loud.
Unless this is a wide step again, if we call this alternative finance, there were different actors here today from different sectors, and they believe that they are alternative finance. How do they come together, and what makes alternative finance? So maybe this money, technology, purpose needs a definition that sets this apart from non-alternative finance. So maybe there's more need for discussions amongst different actors, more exchange of what is our approach. Because I feel that there's a little bit of, well, I'm doing whatever impact investing, I'm doing blockchain, I'm doing whatever it is. But it's what actually is the things that bring them all together and make them
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I don't know if anybody would like to call themselves alternative. I'm not sure this is the best name, but we didn't find anything better to call it. So if you know how to, what would be the kind of common denominator, common thing that would unite people? But I agree that the the discussion, the communication, the cross learning and understanding, how we keep forgetting that actually we are more similar than different, and it's also true in this community, in this in this alternative finance that there are alternatives, but there is also there are common themes and common ideas that guide us through these processes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Okay, then now we will hear from Ms. Eva Kaili, who is the member of European Parliament, the Greek member of European Parliament, and she will tell us her perspective on financial technologies, blockchains, and everything else from kind of European perspective.
So I want to thank you. I want to thank Sandbox, and of course it's an honor to participate. I wish I could be physically there, but in any case, I just started again traveling, so I hope next time we will manage to be together. So I will give you just a short presentation of what we succeeded on blockchain. I would say it's on the alternative finance, exactly what you are discussing. I remember I was elected in 2014 at the European Parliament. We were trying to find solutions for our complicated financial problems. And I thought that since we cannot find traditional ways to solve these problems, we should try the more innovative solutions. So I started exploring blockchain technology as an alternative, a bit anti-systemic and disruptive for the traditional system. 2018, the European Parliament, after my initiative, voted with a great majority the blockchain resolution. This means we basically funded projects on blockchain to test the technology, not just in the financial sector, but everywhere. Since then, I believe that we have matured us and the technology, and now we are basically exploring how these alternative finance solutions can help us and complement our economy. And basically, I have worked in several different files. For example, we have the European crowdfunding service providers that they will enter, the regulation will enter into force across Europe in a couple of months. And this is something that I worked on, which means for the first time, we start to talk about services and solutions and regulations that have a European level, a European possibility, instead of remaining the physical barriers and remaining the frictions that we used to have. I believe also the pandemic has become a catalyst, and the need and the realization that we need to have cross-border payments without problems, without physical presence, has accelerated all our work, everything, and all the regulation basically has arrived in the European Parliament, and we expect to see the realization of our work in the next couple of years. So as it has been discussed, blockchain technology is of strategic importance from an economic, a societal, and a legal perspective. And we need to understand how the digital marketplaces will operate in the coming years. This means what would be the appropriate business and market structures in order to stay relevant and survive the global competition, because it's not something that you can stop. When innovation happens, especially in the digital era where there are no physical borders, this means you cannot avoid discussing even for the digital euro. And this is what started to be a discussion after Libra and after Facebook, talking about a new currency that would be privately owned. I think we are now in the phase where we're completing the digital finance package, and we have an updated legal framework, and I would say quite horizontal, solving legal issues we had. So this digital finance strategy that has been proposed, it aims to remove the final issues we have for fragmentation, to adapt and modernize the regulatory framework, and to facilitate digital innovation without compromising the EU values and principles that may sound as a barrier for innovation, but I think legal certainty, the legal certainty that will be achieved, and the opening of one big single market, we have so many benefits that consumer protection now has to be our top priority, and also investor protection. And we are entering also a data-driven financial sector, so definitely we need to be able to overcome the problems we have, because in Europe, in contrary to the US and the China, we have different legal systems, different languages, different tax systems. The MiCA file, which is the crypto assets approach, it's part of our strategy, and basically it will work as a passport that would operate across Europe, and it will increase consumer protection. I think that we don't address exactly all the DeFi applications, the real DeFi applications. This is something we expect to see in the coming months. Then the DLT pilot regime, it's basically for the first time a pilot, a sandbox at the European level, testing a technology, and this could also lead into a future policy making outcome and regulatory adaptation. So I think it's quite interesting. I think it will include a lot of players, and it will also create a space where innovation can be tested in a regulated space, while we will allow the technology to develop, and we will be able to monitor issues and shortcomings. Assessing what we managed to succeed, I was the rapporteur of the Social Democrats. I believe we managed to be more open-minded and not to, let's say, be stopped by the traditional finance sector, who has been quite defensive to new technologies. I think we cannot stop innovation again, so we need to embrace it and see how we can collaborate. Now we expect to have, and we hope we're going to have a digitized KYC ecosystem. I think the pan-European digital identity will allow to have a user-consented online sharing of personal data information. And also data flows and the management, and also the transition from the open banking to open finance will transform further, and maybe it could be the final big transformation of our digital experience in the financial sector. In this puzzle, this matrix will be completed with the AI Act, the Data Act, and the AML package. I believe that then we can talk about a European single market for technology and innovation. We have seen that it's also very important to increase the skills of the young Europeans to use these technologies, but our ambition is there, and I hope with events like yours, we will be able to communicate what we succeeded, and to have more users exploring the options that they now have with less costs, faster transactions, really trustworthy networks, and of course, more innovators to come and stay in Europe, because now teleworking has become part of our lives, and these solutions really need to have an investment on the side of the private sector, but also with the support of the public sector. So creating this legal framework, we hope that it will enter into force in 2022, and then we will have some complementary files that will conclude this puzzle. I believe that we will be very proud for the outcome, and everybody will be able to, let's say, to deploy blockchain systems and AI systems and the convergence of these amazing technologies. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to address your conference.
Thank you very much for being with us at the end of the day, and thank you for your leadership actually in promoting the blockchain and all these new technologies and making it happen on the European level. Thank you so much. Okay, with that, do we have any more questions or reflections that somebody would like to share? What do we do next? is always a question. Okay, is should we how we should we continue this? If this is a valuable initiative, how we should be continuing it? It's an open question. I think that we would probably we will not be able to resolve it, but I would like to pose that question: is there a value of meeting in these forums and actually having discussion, having cross learning from each other, peer exchanges, and discussing what's happening on the edges of innovation and technology, money and purpose. I don't think there is an answer. There's definitely interest. I have spoken to several people during the conference. There's strong interest of actually organizing it again and actually continuing meetings like this. I will be very happy to, if there is support from the participants, from interested parties. We would be happy to continue, obviously, to do this, to continue the Alternative Finance Forum. However, whatever people think alternative is, okay, for now, unless we come up with a better name, it will stay as an Alternative Finance Forum. But I put it up for votes. If there is a better name, I'm happy we're happy to take it. Anything else that we would I think this is probably all that we have. We had a wonderful program today. I would like to thank once again KEPA and the team for organizing it. I would like to thank the technical team who has been working since yesterday, putting all. And I have pictures to prove what it looked like, to put it together. It was really kind of spectacle for me. I would like to thank our sponsors, especially EIB Institute and Francisco for his support for doing this, and all other wonderful sponsors and the supporters that we have, and network supporters that have contributed to this event. And I really thank you for being here for the first time in live after a long time of absence from person-to-person events. So thank you very much.